Remember, today is the International Day for Persons with Disabilities. It falls on the 3rd of December every year, and it aims at promoting empowerment and helping to create opportunities for persons living with disabilities. And this year, the country is marking that particular event in Makueni County, and the theme is promoting the participation of persons with disabilities and their leadership, taking action on the 2030 Development Agenda. And of course, Kenya has also adopted the Leave No One Behind as a theme for this year. And just to introduce my panel this morning, David Ole Sankok, who's a nominated member of Parliament representing the interests of persons with disabilities in the National Assembly. We also have he's also the former chair of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. We also have Abed Milelu, who is the Executive Director, Cure Kenya Hospital. This is Africa's first orthopedic pediatric teaching hospital for children with disabilities, as well as Brian Samuel Ndungu, who is a motivational speaker, a musician, an artist, a footballer, as well as a swimmer. Wow. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Maybe I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa Sankok. This day has been marked for the past 16 years since its inception. How important is it for not only those living with disabilities and not only for the nation but the world as well? Why is it so important to celebrate this day?
First of all, currently we have 1 billion persons with disability worldwide, and the figure is expected by the year 2020 will be around 1.5 billion. That is a huge population. You cannot leave them behind if we have to move forward. In Kenya, we have approximately 6.5 million Kenyans with disability. That is a market bigger than Nairobi, a potential market bigger than Nairobi. We have 400,000 wheelchair users in this country. If each wheelchair costs around 30,000, that is a business worth 12 billion. It means Kenyans are sitting on a metal worth 12 billion. It is very important for us to come together and celebrate this day, celebrate our gain, and then review our challenges so that we can see a way of bringing persons with disability in the limelight of socio-economic development of our country. Because for a long time, we have viewed persons with disability as people who are seeking favors. But now we know that persons with disability seek opportunities, not favors. And that there is ability beyond disability. Not all of us earn a salary using our legs or our arms. My brother here does not have legs or arms, but he's a very good artist. But when you see him in the first instant, because of stigma, you'll now start associating him with a field that he cannot run as fast as you. But my sister, you have very beautiful long legs, but I'm sure you have never earned it using your legs. My legs may be crooked, but I'm a member of Parliament courtesy of my legs. So I'm even the one who knows the importance of legs more than your beautiful long legs. So we want to view them at that instant, and that's why we are coming together so that we can see their ability beyond disability, and integrate them in the mainstream of socio-economic development without leaving them behind. That is why the theme is leaving no one behind, because we don't want to leave any Kenyan behind in spite of their disability. But Kenya have really made some stride. We are #1 in Africa in terms of disability advocacy. We are #5 in the world. Before the Jubilee administration, that is in 2013, we were almost #75 in the world. We are #15 in Africa. But because of policies that are specific targeting persons with disability, some of them that are nowhere in the world, and I can give you examples. ACPO, Access to Government Procurement Opportunities, in which a certain percentage of our government tenders are set aside for women, youth, and persons with disability. Nowhere in the world that there is a percentage of tenders that are specifically given to persons with disability. Nowhere else in the world.
All right, and we'll come to some of these policies and programs and even the budget set aside and whether it's actually enough for persons living with disabilities, but also the implementation of the same policies you talk about. Abed, you work and you're the Executive Director for Cure Hospital. Tell us more, a little bit more about what you do.
Cure Kenya Hospital is an orthopedic hospital that specializes in correcting children with disabilities,
Right.
physical disabilities, and Mheshimiwa will confirm that physical disabilities are the majority among the disabilities that we have. Our focus for the last 21 years has been correcting children with physical disabilities. We celebrate 22 years this year, and every year we perform over 2,500 surgeries. We see children who are, over 10 years, children who are 17 years, teens, going to school with things like clubfoot. So that is to say that there's still a lot of work to be done. In this country, we are the only pediatric orthopedic hospital. When you look at the statistics and you mention that of the number of people with disabilities, out of the 6.5 million that we're talking about, a good number of those people are children. And so the only way to be able to give hope to these children is giving that very helpful surgery now so that they can live their life to the fullest. So we say, we exist to transform lives and to give hope to the hopeless in the society.
Right.
Yeah.
And, looking at the theme as well, leave no one behind, and of course you say a huge majority of this particular demographic in the country are children.
Yeah.
Do you think we've been able to take care of our children, especially those living with disabilities, to a level that is good?
I would say no. And this is why I would say no. Like I said, we see teens, we see adults
Right.
who've not been able to get care for simple things such as clubfoot. Clubfoot is where the baby is born with the legs facing each other like this. And these are conditions that we actually at the moment correct without any surgical intervention. So there's been no awareness. There's been no very deliberate effort by a lot of us, including government, to be able to push this agenda to correct these people. There's more that we can do. And when I engage different stakeholders, especially government, I tell them, any government wants to, increase collecting taxes. Mheshimiwa here will tell you that he's been very pushing Parliament to make sure that these people get tax incentives from, exemption from pay as you earn and many other things. If you can correct a child with clubfoot today, you strike them off the list of being a person with disability in the future. So there's so much that we can correct. Of course, we need so many people to come on board, again, including government, to help us push the agenda of awareness, advocacy, and putting in the necessary systems and policies so that we can be able to make sure that right from when the child is born, we identify them, we take them to the hospital, we correct them, we push them back to the community so that there is proper integration with the community. They're able to go to school, they're able to live their life to their full potential.
So a multi-sectoral approach.
Exactly.
All right. And of course, something very interesting, Brian Samuel, I read here that you're a footballer as well. Just give us a brief history into, how you are such a multi-talented person, because it's true what Mheshimiwa said. Someone will look at you and say, how can you swim,
With only one leg.
Exactly,
Without arms.
Just give us a brief history. How did you manage to do this and overcome what so many could not be able to?
Okay, first of all, let me introduce myself.
Right.
My name is Brian Samuel Ndongo Sami Brayo. I'm a Christian, fearfully and wonderfully made in God's unique design, creating a life and legacy, pointing others through my music and sharing God's word. So I was born very young, but as you have said, I have many, many talents such as swimming, acting, drawing, and all the others.
Right.
But first I can say, these talents coming from a different labeled person, seeing most of the people, how can you do it? But first of all, what I usually say is believing in yourself. Believing in yourself. Me, since I was young, I never saw myself as any different labeled person.
Right.
I saw myself as a normal person since I was young. Even most of the times people used to remind me, haya ule kijana hana mikono, unaona. So ndio nakumbuka haya kumbe probably there's something I don't have. But since I was young, I've been able to see myself as just a normal person. And also I think support of my mom and support of the family and friends also has contributed so much in enabling me to be where I am even today. And to also to realize my talents so that I can be where I am today.
So you would say that as you grew up, you had the support that you needed
Yes.
to ensure that you actually live a very fulfilling life.
Yes, I had support from my mom. My mom actually believed in me so much and pushed for me so much, such that I even learned in normal schools with my condition, you know. But first of all, it was difficult because at the end of the day, you know, like learning in normal schools as a differently abled person is so difficult because of the many questions they're wondering. How will you be able to cope with other students? How are you going to write? And issues like that, you know. First of all, it was hard. We had to go to different schools, but eventually we got to one school. It was called Kalimoni Primary School, in which it accommodated me and gave me a chance to learn with the other students.
Right.
Yes.
But it was quite challenging at first.
It was quite challenging at first.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, maybe we'll just come back and also take a look at some of those challenges you faced as a child and
Yes.
how you can be able to even motivate young people who are watching today. Away from that, Mheshimiwa, you talked about 6.5 million approximately.
Yes.
Million people in the country. That's a huge
disability.
chunk. Million people living with disabilities. That's a huge chunk of the population in this country. You also talked about the policies that are in place. Maybe can you give us some of the policies that are in place that have been able to work to address the challenges that persons living with disabilities are facing, and what more can be done?
Thank you very much. And before even I go to that, you know, when I became disabled through a doctor's injection at the age of 12, because of lack of fund, I had to crawl for almost 3 years.
Oh, so
And
historically, this is what happened to you?
Yes, and thank God it happened. That is why I'm in Parliament. and I went to Kijabe,
Right.
Kiwa International. At that time, it was actually together with Kijabe Mission Hospital. There is where a little bit, because there was a lot of deformity because of crawling that was done to me, and that is why I could walk upright, even though with a swag. So thank to Abed. It was not there at that time,
Right.
but it was nonetheless the hospital that did the corrective surgery. That is why I'm attached so much to that hospital. So when it comes to policies,
Right.
one of them that I said is ACPO. It is nowhere else in the world. Access to government procurement opportunities, tax exemption. My sister, if today you earn 150,000 in this media house as a salary in a month, you'll get only 100,000 because 50,000 will be taxes. But as a person with disability, if I'm working with you, the same job group, then I'll get the total 150,000 because the government of Kenya realized that some of us have extra expenses. I have to buy crutches, I have to buy wheelchair, I have to buy calipers. Those are my legs. You don't buy your legs.
Right.
And then we also import vehicle duty free. Some of our vehicles are not actually for luxury. They are actually like a necessity. You can move for almost 1 kilometer. For me, even moving for 100 meters is a challenge. So a car for me is like a necessity. That's why we are given duty free vehicles. You know that it is only Kenya that have decided that sign language is the third official language in Kenya.
Right.
So that our brothers and sisters who are 1 million, who are deaf, can also follow proceedings that are happening. And this is an examinable language in our exams. If you have seen the results of the KCP candidates, then there is a sign language. They were examined on sign language. There's also a unit in our universities and colleges in the training of architects and engineers on accessibility, so that we can internalize this law, so that accessibility does not become like something that you are forced to do, but the architecture or the civil engineer constructing a building will tell you the importance. All of us are potential candidates to disability. Myself, I was not born disabled. I became disabled. If we age, if you become 80 years, you just become like you are disabled. So accessibility is actually internalized so that everybody know. Performance contracting in our ministries, department, and agencies of the government,
Right.
that if you have to score higher marks in performance contracting, there is a unit and the marks awarded to it that is about disability mainstreaming, representation, which is very important, and it is leaving no one behind. Representation. The government of Kenya, through the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, decided that it does not only talk about representation, but also talk about the categories of person with disability, so that nobody is left behind. Because if you just say somebody with disability, you can take all physical or all blind and leaving other categories behind. And let me just break down in a minute. We have, for the first time in post and pre-independent Kenya, a principal secretary who is actually of short stature, Honorable Joseph Tamkobe. We have never got on that. But you see now, her disability is of short stature and armless, just like my brother here.
Right.
And then we have in the National Assembly, Sankok. I'm talking about the Jubilee side now, the Uhuru side, so that we can balance.
Right.
I'm physically disabled. I'm using crutches.
Right.
In the Senate, we have Honorable Maura, who is a person with albinism. In the National Gender and Equality Commission, we have somebody called Dr. Chomba, who is blind. In the Commission on Administrative Justice, we have Washington Opio, who is deaf. So that all our categories are also involved. So nobody is left behind. And the most important also policy is the policy of integration, that we want person with disability to go through integrated school. My sister, if we were together in the same school, probably if I score an A and you score a D, I'll say, okay, I will not defeat you in the field, but I can defeat you in class. So I'll say, yes, I'm disabled in the field, but you are also disabled in class. So the disability is kind of shared. So the motivation in me will come out. So there are so many other policies that the government have decided to adopt. And then there is funds targeting person with disability for economic empowerment, like the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, National Council for Person with Disability Fund, school fees for those who can go to school, people with disability. There are a lot of bursaries that target person with disability in the National Development Fund of Kenya.
Does all this and the information that is there really, has it reached the grassroots level, the person who's living in the rural area, who, by the way, still holds their child who is, living with disability and locks them in the house?
I'm just from KBC. I've always been in most of the media houses. We have advocated. We have gone out of our way to make sure that everybody is aware of what is happening. And I can tell you, where we are is not where we were some years back.
Right.
We have made some stride. We are not yet there. Even the president himself have come out as an advocate. In 2016, he recognized me on behalf of the 6 million Kenyans with disability as a hero in the 2016 Mashujaa Day. Not because of winning any gold medal, not because of fighting for independence, but because of overcoming challenges that come with disability. There is no other president anywhere in the world that have joined the advocacy for disability rights as an advocate and as a person who have recognized person with disability. If we can be recognized as heroes because of overcoming challenges with disability by the highest office in the land, that motivates us, give us hope. So there are so many other policies that if we discuss, it will be, but there are challenges more than the policies. There are challenges more than the gains. And most of the challenges are not actually from the government. It is from you and me. If today you see me walking, you start describing how I walk. You start probably looking at your pocket if you have 50 bob, so that you give me 50 without knowing what is my qualification. I may be even more qualified than you. Right. You see? So there are so many, the stigma and the challenges are actually coming from the common wananchi.
All right, Abed, and of course, talking of stigma, we still have, outdated cultural customs and attitudes for years that has actually been one of the biggest challenges for persons living with disabilities. Do you think we've been able to make strides in terms of addressing these issues and, of course, changing the perception of how we view our fellow people?
There's been some progress, but we still have a lot to do. Mheshimiwa here has been in this sector for more years than myself.
Right.
And if you speak to him, he'll let you know that in some of the communities, probably even he's a Maasai, and he's a proud Maasai, that I think when children were born in his community, they were given cholesterol.
Yes.
So that they, it can ferment, and that way they will die a natural death.
They will not eat any food, they'll die.
Yeah.
Or even sniffing tobacco mixed with water, so that once the child takes to perforate the intestine. In fact, birth attendants are giving specific instruction to kill them at birth. Some of them are thrown into the kettle pen or camel pen so that they can be stumbled on.
Because of this historical, this cultural belief that there's something wrong.
Yes.
It's a curse. They refer them as a curse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I'll come back.
Definitely.
Yeah. So there is. So we have moved from killing them. I don't believe that we kill them anymore.
It is not there.
it is not there.
Right.
But we are at a state where we hide them. And one of the ways that we reach out to these communities across the country is through, you know, mobile clinics, mobile outreaches. So we are currently in 23 counties.
Right.
Serving Kenyans. And, you know, the agenda is really to go to the 47 counties. It's not that we don't serve the 47, it's only that we serve them from other counties. And we still find, again, children who are hidden. Because then when this child was born, the mother looked at them and they were like, what is happening here? We see a lot of families that are single parents, and single parents here meaning it's only the mother who is being left.
Right.
Why? When the baby was born, the man looked around and said, no, in our community, in our family, we don't have this. So it took off. So we see a lot of that. So there's a bit of acceptance.
Right.
And where we have to move to look at disability as just another condition. And so acceptance and agreeing that it's also correctable. There are a lot of challenges that we face when we go out there. And I tell people that when I see a mother, when I see a father bring their child to us, much of the work is done. Because the biggest issue to overcome is acceptance. Is acceptance that this is correctable. Is that stigma that we stop looking at them as very special beings. Mheshimiwa here always says, you know, they don't need sympathy. They just need an opportunity to live their life. So the challenges are there. They're actually more than what we've been able to achieve. We still need to do more awareness, and I think we are happy, for example, to be here today just to talk about this subject, because for many years we've not been able to face this. So there's what we need to do. There are infrastructural issues. So from a planning perspective, where then if I was coming here on a wheelchair, would I be able to reach here? Would I be part of this panel today, for example? So again, what is the government doing? And I'm sure you'll be able to talk about that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Abed. And before we cross over live to Eldoret, understand we have Lois Onguyo on standby. Brian, we talk about stigma right now, and this is an issue that has been quite a thorny issue, especially for persons living with disabilities. Did you face some kind of stigma as you grew up, and how did you cope with that?
Yes, I can say I faced some kind of stigma when I grew up, since when I was young, playing with the other kids in the neighborhood. First of all, even before like interacting with them, it was a bit a challenge, because first of all I needed to describe myself to them so that they can see me as a normal child like them. Also, the other thing is, they have told you have learned in normal schools. So like pleading to the teachers and to the administrations of this school so that I can be part of them also was quite a challenge, because we needed to explain to them. My mother had to go there and tell them Brian's like any other child, you know. But first of all, like before even I got that school, the one I got in primary school, the first school, we really went to different schools, many schools, you know, because of what? Because of seeing this kind of differently abled person really be able to cope with us, you know, judging me from appearance.
Yes.
You know, that's what I'm trying to say. So I can say that kind of stigma, I say when I was young I went through. Yes.
And you've talked, and of course you also have your peers where you probably sit down and discuss some of these challenges.
Yes.
For most of them, how have they been able to deal with it as well? Is it something that has completely, you know, affected their way of life?
Yes, I have actually peers who are similar. Okay, they have different disabilities, you know. I've talked with them, but some of them usually, even when you interact with them, when like hearing their stories, some of them usually told me like, Brian, you know, my parents at first, you know, did not love me. You know, there are different stories and emotional stories. But you know, sitting with them and interacting with them as a group, and all of us having challenges, you know, it gives them even hope and motivation to move on, you know.
To just move forward and overcome those challenges.
Yes.
All right.